Ah, Hello. My name is Hakon, and welcome back to another little video. Um, Today I'm doing something a little bit different, again, which happens sometimes. I was meaning to do an unboxing video, but my video didn't record, so that goes out the window, and instead it's going to be just a presentation of what I was meaning to unbox. Anyway, so just a little bit of background. So lately, I've tried to spend more time reading poetry. Particularly, I've been working my way through Dorothy Parker. Absolutely amazing poet. One of my favorites, I think. I've also been reading some other poetry. I've read a bit of Norwegian poetry by Nordahl Grieg. Whose collected works I got in the first edition here from 1947. It's just one book of poetry, though the rest is plays and novels. I've also been reading a little bit of William Blake, and started having a little look at Rilke, which I got here in a very good dual language version. So I got the original German and with English translations. Yeah, very useful. Similarly with Charles Baudelaire, I've got Fleur du Mal, The Flowers of Evil, and I've got the original French, of course, and the English translation. Very useful for someone like me who doesn't really speak French. I do know some words, but I wouldn't understand the finer nuances or the meaning, even if I did understand the words. Things like that. And while I was doing that, I was actually starting to try to find an edition, a version of Basho's Haiku that I really liked. Now, if you ask an English person who is the greatest poet in the world, they might say Shakespeare, or they might say Wordsworth, Blake, they might say Byron. If you ask a German, they might say Rilke, but they might also say Goethe, of course, one of the absolutely great masters of poetry ever. You ask a Greek person, he might say Homer. But if you ask a Japanese person, he is not that unlikely to say Basho. And of course, Basho is known throughout the world as probably the best known master of the haiku form of poetry. That's those really tiny ones, 17 syllable, 3 lines. Poems that are so popular. But if you're not a Japanese person, and actually if you're Japanese and you don't actually know all the historical context and the proverbs and other things that might have been referred to in his work, then it's very hard to read them because it's so short. And of course, the shorter a poem is, the fewer words it has, the more possible interpretations there might be. And if you change something, which often happens in translation, it actually can change the meaning and intent of a poem completely. And I was looking to see if I could find any good translations of Basho, but I was sort of one name kept cropping up as the one that many considered to be the best for several reasons, and I'll get into why I think so too. Because many they try to write it in a way that makes sense, in a way that it makes it sound good in English. But then they don't provide the original text. They don't provide a translation of the original text directly, and so there was only one version I could find, one book, one edition that had the original text. It has the pronunciation of the original text, which is useful, even though I do actually speak a bit of Japanese. And it has a literal translation of the text, not a poetic one. It just says exactly what it means, no more, no less. Well, actually, it does say more because it also goes through any changes that might have happened to the poem. That also says something about the intent and the meaning of it. It actually tells you about the grammar of Japanese in general and of the poems in specific when they do each one. And that is an edition written by a Japanese person called Toshiharu Oseko. And this is as you can actually see almost from the style now, is a book that is for the Japanese market. So this one cost 3,000 yens when it was new, presumably. This was published in 1990. I'm not sure if actually there were more than one printing of these. It's quite an academic book. It goes into a lot of detail. I'll just put it on my desk now, and I'll give you a little look now. Let's see. So if I start my camera there. Okay, so here we have the book, and it's got actually in the list of corrections, list of corrigenda, or errata, as I'm used to hearing it. So it's sort of spelling mistakes, etc. Yeah. Interestingly, there's a German line there as well. So that's interesting to have. I must make sure I keep that. Okay, and so obviously this seems to be written in a sort of quite an early word processor, and of course when the Japanese person writes, they may not write in a way that or style the letters in a way that makes sense for an English speaker to read. It's the kerning is a bit somehow, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Actually, it's a bit quirky. I quite like that. So what this has actually is, let's just go through a little bit here. What is a haiku? Got a little bit here. Structural analysis, cultural background. Let's see. What am I looking at now? Is different things. Philosophical background. So we got Chuang Tzu is mentioned here. So we're talking Taoism. Is quite a major influence on his poetry. The usefulness of the useless. Doing nothing. A natural wu wei. It's a bit of Confucianism as well. Existentialism. And then there's a section on Japanese grammar, well, basic Japanese grammar. Verbs, conjugation. There is the hiragana and katakana characters, the syllabary. I know those, of course. Auxiliary verbs, the particles, it's adjectives, and then it's the haiku itself. So let's just look at one random one now. So it says here, the first snowfall, just enough to bend down the leaves of the narcissus. Which doesn't sound that great in English, but of course in Japanese, Hatsuyuki ya suisen no ha no tawamu made. So it's got the original text in Japanese, it's got the literal English translation and the pronunciation guide for the Japanese, and then it's got the glossary underneath, which of course is relatively clear from the translation, but just to be sure that you know which word is which. And then, interestingly, then of course there might be other things that are needed to be explained. There's not so much in this one. So there's just a little bit of explanation here. Some of them there's more than others because there are more things going on, more possible interpretations, etc. And here, that's the one next to it here, quite interesting. It says, having drunk some sake, I find it harder to sleep. The snow in the night. Sake nomeba itodonerare ne yoru no yuki. Interestingly, here in the glossary here, it actually tells you the difference between nomeba and nomaba. Since I have had some sake, or if I had any drink. So it's quite interesting how it actually picks up on these little nuances and how so you could sort of think something and have an opinion about why he made those choices and what other choices he could have made as well. And also that also tells you something about why those tiny things can be significant as well. So yeah, it's just if you want to really read Basho's haiku, this is an absolutely amazing book. Now the thing about this book is it is not easy to find. I think I was very lucky to find one right away when I was looking for it. I was actually I was trying to find good versions of Basho. I was looking different places and reading different reviews and things. And this was the one that was mentioned. And then I tried to find it for sale, and there was only one available anywhere as far as I could tell. I'm sure if I went to a Japanese eBay, for instance, I would find more of them. But there was only one available in the West, so to speak. And so I got that right away when I found it. So Basho's Haiku by Toshiharu Oseko from 1990. Brilliant book. And I'm going to give this a good read through as I spend more time reading poetry. So yeah. So that's my exciting new book of the day. Absolutely a cracker of a read, it seems like. So yeah, that's my little video today. Almost like a vlog, isn't it? It's like a sort of a what happened today kind of video. I don't usually do that, but maybe I should do more of those as well. So yeah, it was meant to be a poetry unboxing, and it turned into just a little talk about this book by Oseko, Basho's Haiku. So yeah. So thanks for watching, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you again in my next video, whichever it will be. I don't know. I will try to do more poetry videos, because I know that I do have quite a few subscribers and viewers who like the poetry videos. I notice I'm getting views on them, so I will do more of that as well as I go along. So yeah, thanks for watching, and goodbye for now. Bye bye. Oh, should do my fade out. So, bye bye.